Hello student, today I will discuss about remaining assets point and liabilities point. A non-current asset means, non-current investment means uh, non-current investment shall be classified as a trade investment and other investments, and further classified as a investment property, investment in equity, and investment in preference shares. Okay. And investment in government also, or trust securities also, investment in debenture or bonds, investment in mutual funds, investment in partnership firm. Okay. Under each under each classification, details shall be given of names of the bodies corporate, indicating separately whether such bodies are subsidiaries and associates and joint venture and control special purpose entities in whom investments have been made, and the nature and extent of the investment so made in each such body corporate. In regard to investment in the capital of partnership firm, and the names of the firms and shall be given. Investments carried at other than at costs should be separately stated, specifying the basis for valuation. And the following points are included in investment. Uh, First one is aggregate amount of investment and market value, then aggregate amount of unquoted investment, and aggregate provision for diminution in value of investment. Next point is long term loans and advances. Long term loans and advances means capital advances, security deposits, loans and advances to related parties, and other loans and advances, and secured considered goods and unsecured good, doubtful, bad and doubtful loans and advances. Okay. Loans and advances due by directors or other officers of the company, or any of them, either severally or jointly with any other person, amounts due by firms or private companies respectively, in which any director is a partner, or a director or a member should be separately stated. Then next point is non-current asset or other non-current asset. हमने नॉन करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट देखा, देन लॉन्ग टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस देखे. अब नॉन करंट एसेट में आता है लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स. लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेड रिसीवेबल मीन्स सिक्योर्ड और अनसिक्योर्ड गुड्स. ओके. देन करंट इन्वेस्टमेंट में आता है इन्वेस्टमेंट इन इक्विटी, इन्वेस्टमेंट इन प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स, government or securities, investment in mutual funds, partnership firm. Okay. Under each classification, details shall be given of name of the bodies corporate. Means the basis of valuation of individual investment. Okay. Then trade receivable. Trade receivable means aggregate amount of trade receivable outstanding for a period exceeding 6 months from the date they are due from. Payment should be separately secured goods, unsecured goods, and doubtfuls. Allowances for bad and doubtful debts shall be disclosed under the relevant heads separately. Debts due by directors or the other officers of the company or any of them either jointly or separately with any other person, or debts due by firm or private companies respectively, in which any director in a partners or director or member should be separately stated. Okay. Then cash and cash equivalents. Cash and cash equivalents shall be classified four parts. One is balance with banks, check and draft on hand. Third is cash on hand and others. Then balance with bank shall be separately stated. Balance with banks to the extent held as margin money or security against the borrowing guarantees. Other commitments shall be disclosed separately. Then, if any respect of cash and bank balance shall be separately stated, and bank deposit with more than 12 months maturity shall be disclosed separately. Next point is short term loans and advances. Short term loans and advances means loans and advances to related parties and other. एक second, student. Then allowances for bad and doubtful loans and advances. Okay. Then contingent liabilities and commitments means shall be classified claims against the company not acknowledged as debt, guarantees, and other money for which the company is contingently liable. Okay. Commitment means estimated, or a commitment shall be classified as a estimated amount of contracts remaining to be executed on capital amount and not provided. Uncalled liability on shares and other investments partly paid and other commitments. The amount of dividends proposed to be distributed to equity and preference shareholders for the period and the related amount per share shall be disclosed separately. Arrears of fixed uh, cumulative dividends on preference shares shall also be disclosed separately, where in respect of an issue of securities made for a specific purpose, the whole or part of the amounts has not been used for the specific purpose at the balance sheet date, there shall be indicated by way of a note how such unutilized amounts have been used or invested. If, in the opinion of the board, any of the assets other than fixed assets and non current investments do not have a value on realization in the ordinary course of business at least equal to the amount at which they are stated, the fact that the board is of that opinion shall be stated. Okay. एंड जब हम प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस स्टेटमेंट बनाते तो उसका फॉर्मेट में आपको नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में बताऊंगी। उससे पहले I will explain you general instructions for preparation of statement of profit and loss. Okay. The first one is first thing is the provision of this part shall provision of this part shall apply to income and expenditure account referred to in sub clause second of clause 40 section 2. Okay. In in respect of company other than a finance company, revenue from operations shall disclose separately in the notes revenue from sale of products, sale of services and other operating revenues. Less excise duty. B point is in respect of finance company, revenue from operations shall include revenue from interest and other financial services. Revenue under each of the above heads shall be disclosed separately by way of notes to accounts to the extent applicable. Okay, then finance cost classified as interest expenses, other borrowing cost and applicable net gain. Then other income shall be classified as interest income, dividend income, net gain or loss on sale of investment. Then additional information shall disclosed by way of notes additional information regarding aggregate expenditure and income on the following item. First one is employee benefits expenses, salaries and wages, contribution to provident and other funds, expenses on employee stock, option scheme, depreciation and amortization expenses. Any item of income or expenditure which exceeds 1% of the revenue from operations or 1 lakh, whichever is higher. Then interest income, interest expenses, dividend income. In case of manufacturing companies, raw materials under board heads and goods purchased under the board heads. In the case of trading companies, purchase in respect of goods traded in by the company under board heads. In the case of companies rendering or supplying services, gross income divided from services rendered or supplied under board heads. In the case of company which falls under more than one of the categories mentioned A, B and C, means in case of manufacturing company, in case of trading company and in case of companies regarding regarding supplying services. Okay, in the case of all concerns having work in progress under board head, the aggregate in if material of any amount set aside or proposed to be set aside to reserve, but not including provision made to meet any specific liability, contingencies or commitment known to exist at the date as to which the balance sheet is made up. The aggregate if material of any amounts withdrawn from such a reserve. The aggregate if material of the amount set aside to provision made for meeting specific liabilities, contingencies, or commitments. Okay. Then some hints, I think प्रैक्टिकल मतलब एक्चुअल जब हम प्रैक्टिकल और प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते दैट टाइम कुछ हिंट्स है मतलब फॉर्मेट कौन से फॉर्म में बनाना है या फिर हाउ टू राइट फिनेंशियल ईयर थिंक दिस इंस्ट्रक्शन आपके लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है ये सब इंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी एक्ट 2013 का शेड्यूल 3 और शेड्यूल 6 जो है इसमें आपको प्रॉपरली दिया है उन्होंने सेपरेट डिस्क्लोजर मीन्स शेड्यूल 3 जो है रिक्वायर्ड सेपरेट डिस्क्लोजर रिगार्डिंग each of the following in the statement of profit and loss: gain or loss on foreign currency transaction, profit before tax, tax expenses, and profit after tax from discounting operations. आई थिंक दिस जो आइटम्स होते हैं वो जब हम एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट करेंगे दैट टाइम आपको पता चलेगा बट हॉरिजॉन्टल फॉर्मेट ऑफ बैलेंस शीट जो है अभी जो हम नया फॉर्मेट बनाने वाले हैं वो हॉरिजॉन्टल टाइप फॉर्मेट है मतलब horizontal format of balance sheet known as customary form okay T shape में है वो was deleted in the revised schedule 6 which is now schedule 3 part 3 of old schedule 6 on interpretation which contain definition of terms like provision, reserve, etc. has been omitted since these terms are already defined in the accounting standard. Okay. Then profit or loss balance from last year. Then a disclosure of revenue other than finance company. Okay. Then a depreciation method. Depreciation can be provided on written down value matlab WDV or straight line method. The method used shall be disclosed in the accounts. It may be noted that under the Income Tax Act, depreciation is charged according to WDV method. However, their depreciation has to be calculated on block of assets. This concept is not all this under the Companies Act. Okay, under the Companies Act, if an asset is added during the year, full depreciation can be claimed if the asset is used for 180 or more days in year. While 50% depreciation can be claimed if the asset is used for less than 180 days. While under Companies Act, depreciation should be calculated on pro rata basis. Okay. Then proposed dividend is the main thing in final account. Appropriation amount towards proposed dividend along with tax on same would be shown as an appropriation under subhead surplus under the head reserve and surplus in the notes to accounts. Provision towards these items would be shown under head short term provisions under current liabilities. Okay. Then Corporate social responsibility section 135 not required now. Then valuation of inventories. Amendments cover बाकी की अगर आपके पास बुक है तो आप देखोगे बहुत सारी थेरी है यहाँ पे, मतलब टीडीएस और डिविडेंड का भी 194 सेक्शन जो है वो भी दिया है. देन टैक्सेशन ऑफ डिविडेंड इनकम रिसीव्ड ऑन और आफ्टर 1 अप्रैल 2020, प्रेजेंट स्टेटस, ऐसे बहुत सारे शेड्यूल्स है. लेकिन अभी आपको इतनी ज़रूरत नहीं, मैं जितना इम्पोर्टेंट है उतना ही एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ. TDS, the provision relating to TDS on dividend is covered under Section 194 of Income Tax Act 1956. Okay. As per the provision of Section 194 of Income Tax Act, the principal officer of an Indian company or a company making prescribed arrangement for declaration and payment of the dividend within India is required to deduct TDS on dividend. The first condition is, the following are the conditions. First one is the dividend it's paid to the shareholder who is a resident in India, and the dividend covered within the meaning of clause A to E, section 2, subsection 22. It is important to note that the dividend referred above covers the dividends on preference shares also, that is TDS is to be deducted on dividends on preference shares if provisions of sections 194 gets attracted. Further payment of TDS on dividend to non-resident is not covered within the provision of section 194. As per the provision of section 194, the Income Tax Act, the deductor is required to deduct the TDS earlier of the following dates. First one is before making payment in cash. Second point, before issuing any check or warrant. And third one is before making any distribution or payment. The company liable to deduct TDS as per provisions of section 194 is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. However, in case the shareholders fails to furnish the permanent account number, means PAN number, then the company would be liable to deduct TDS at the maximum marginal rate. Then next point is expect exemptions from deduction of TDS on dividends. Exemptions. A dividend paid to an individual where the aggregate amount of dividend paid by the company to the individuals during the financial year does not exceeds and such a dividend is paid by the account pay check. Second point is dividend paid to the Life Insurance Corporation of India in a respect of share owned by it or have a full beneficial interest. Next point is dividend paid to the General Insurance Corporation of India in respect of shares owned by it or have a full beneficial interest. Next is dividend paid to any other insurer in respect of shares owned by it or have a full beneficial interest. And next is a dividend covered by provisions of section 115O. Declaration has been filed either in form 15G और फॉर्म 15H. आपको जब इनकम टैक्स आप सीखोगे दैट टाइम आपको ये पता चलेगा. फिलहाल आप इसे लिसन करो. ओके. देन जो बैलेंस शीट फॉर्मेट है एंड प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस का जो फॉर्मेट है वो मैं आप लोगों को नेक्स्ट लेक्चर को देती हूँ, मतलब उसका पिक्स निकाल के. अगर आपके पास बुक है तो आप वो देख सकते हो. ओके. तो उसमें क्या क्या कवर होता है हमारा, जो समरी चार्ट है वो भी दूंगी मैं आपको. समरी चार्ट मीन्स फॉर एग्जांपल अगर एसेट है तो मेजर हेड क्या है, सब हेड क्या होगा, एंड अकाउंट्स कौन सा अकाउंट कहाँ पोस्ट करोगे. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर नॉन करंट एसेट है, नॉन करंट एसेट इज द मेजर हेड. ओके. एंड उसके बाद आप प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट लोगे, या फिर कैपिटल, इन्वेस्टमेंट, प्रॉपर्टी, गुडविल, इस टाइप के जो एसेट आएगी उसे सब हेड बोलेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट तो हम कैसे करेंगे, लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग, बिजनेस प्रीमाइसेस, लीज होल्ड प्रीमाइसेस, प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट, ऑफिस इक्विपमेंट. आपको 12 का याद है फाइनल अकाउंट, उसमें देखो आप लिखते थे बिल्डिंग, प्लांट एंड मशीनरी, फर्नीचर, टूल्स एंड इक्विपमेंट, मशीनरी, एंड लेस प्रोविजन फॉर डेप्रिसिएशन. दिस टाइप, दिस इज कॉल्ड अकाउंट्स. मतलब सब हेड में इंक्लूड है. फॉर एग्जांपल अब कैपिटल, बिल्डिंग्स अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन, इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रॉपर्टी मीन्स इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रॉपर्टी, गुडविल. अदर इंटेंजिबल एसेट में आता है ब्रांड, ट्रेडमार्क. ओके. देन जब एक्चुअल हम प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट करेंगे दैट टाइम आपको अच्छे से पता चलेगा कि कैसे, मतलब कौन सा आइटम कहाँ पोस्ट करना है. ओके. उसके नोट्स भी बनाएंगे. मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट है तो उसके अंडर क्या क्या आएगा. फॉर एग्जांपल मशीनरी, फर्नीचर, फिक्चर्स, व्हीकल. तो कैसे उसकी टोटल करके हमें सॉल्व करना है मैं वो बताऊंगी. उसके बाद आई थिंक समरी ऑफ चार्ट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर यू, मतलब आपको वो देना चाहिए ताकि आप वो रीड कर सकें. मतलब रीड करके आई डोंट नो आपको कितना समझ में आएगा, लेकिन मैं समरी ऑफ चार्ट अकाउंट पे उसके फ़ोटोज़ डालती हूँ और नेक्स्ट लेक्चर को हम समरी ऑफ चार्ट पे ही बात करते हैं. ओके. ताकि आपको पता चले कि समरी ऑफ चार्ट मीन्स क्या है और उसमें क्या क्या इंक्लूड होता है, ताकि जब हम एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट करेंगे तो आपको बहुत इजी हो जाएगा सॉल्व करने के लिए प्रॉब्लम. ओके. फॉर एग्जांपल प्रोविजन लॉन्ग टर्म, ऐसा एक हेडिंग था हमारा जब मैंने आपको थ्योरी एक्सप्लेन की थी. तो प्रोविजंस के अंडर क्या क्या आता है, स्टाफ बेनिफिट फंड आ सकता है, एम्प्लॉय ऑन लीव पेबल ऑन रिटायरमेंट आ सकता है. ऐसे जो पॉइंट होते हैं तो वो समरी ऑफ चार्ट में आपके कवर हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि समरी ऑफ चार्ट में वैसे ही बताया गया है. अब देखो कहाँ गया पॉइंट, करंट एसेट्स. फॉर एग्जांपल करंट एसेट तो उसमें सब हेड होगा इन्वेंटरीज. मतलब इन्वेंटरीज में क्या क्या इंक्लूड है, फॉर एग्जांपल रॉ मटेरियल हो सकता है, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस, स्टॉक और फिनिश्ड गुड्स, इस टाइप के पॉइंट्स आ सकते हैं, मतलब इस टाइप के अकाउंट्स इसमें इंक्लूड हो सकते हैं। ओके, तो नेक्स्ट लेक्चर हम समरी ऑफ चार्ट एक्सप्लेन करते हैं। ओके, थैंक यू।